Before we jump into today's reading, I need to give you all a quick update because the Jay-Z casino story has gotten even messier. So Jay-Z officially went into his latest board meeting to get approval for his NYC casino deal, and he actually lost. Okay, the votes came back 4-2 against him, and that basically means that for now the project is dead in the water. But here's the kicker. Vanity Fair just dropped what's basically like an expose detailing how much money Jay has raised, the political favors being traded, and even allegations of straight up bribes to influence these prominent figures to push this casino through. So even though the vote didn't go through and go his way, the bigger picture here is showing us how deep these backroom deals really go. So now with all of this in mind, I just want to see what Spirit has to say about the true motives behind the casino push, how Beyoncé ties into this situation, and whether or not this no vote is really the end of the story or just another case of a chess move in a much bigger game. So let's get into the cards. All right, so I did, of course, pull for some backstory just to see what the overall energy is before we start shuffling again. And I did have a couple of cards that kind of stood out to me. We have the hobby card, which kind of lends towards how this whole situation with the casino plans out. Gambling is something that is kind of like a pastime or an addiction, some people would call it for certain people. We have the hope card and reward yourself. Okay, so this I feel like is something where I think that Roc Nation, namely Jay-Z, was possibly using this as a ploy to tap into the energy of what gambling habits people may have in the city and use it as a way to reward themselves. I have picked up on this energy before where I have said in other readings that Jay-Z may have wanted to use this casino situation as a way to kind of like work casually, in a sense, this whole like money laundering kind of thing where it's something about money laundering and being able to wash money as to why they wanted to use the casino as the thing, but we're going to get into specifically why they wanted to do that. Now, we also are going to be pulling cards from the celebrity and political decks that I have. So keep that in mind. We have from the political deck the overall message: mutually beneficial connection. We have the journalist card, and then the crime ring, an organized network involved in illegal activities such as trafficking and smuggling. So this again kind of confirms what my intuitive downloads have been about this whole situation, that the whole reason why Roc Nation wanted to push this situation, push having a casino in the middle of Times Square, is to be able to have a facility, to have a location, an actual physical site that they could wash large amounts of money. Something is going on with Jay-Z right now where he can't he doesn't have full control over something regarding money and how he gets it, how he transfers it, how he uses it. So he could be someone who has a lot of actual liquid cash, but can't really utilize it in the way that he needs to. So that means that ultimately his assets don't kind of like weigh out properly, if that makes sense. We also have overseas from the celebrity deck. Overseas relocation announcement. There has been talks about him and Beyoncé moving to, I think it's the UK or somewhere else overseas where but I think because of this whole Fed situation, the FBI that's being involved and all of this, like connected to Diddy, it's kind of harder for them to move in the way that they want to, because at any given point that they could be deposed or they could be subpoenaed for certain things. So I think they have kind of been red flagged in some way. We have new song or album drop. There's been speculation about him dropping some new music. This could also be in reference to Beyonce dropping new music. She does have Act 3 or Act 4 or whatever, where she's going to be, I think, tapping into the rock genre after this whole Americana country moment that she's had. We have deep connections to secret societies, influence over media, politics, or industry, Freemasons, or Skull and Bones. Now, this card came out in reverse. I think this is talking about like they may still have their deep connections to secret societies. However, the patience of these group connections are weighing thin. I feel like a lot of people are kind of like starting to kind of see beyond, the smoke screen, and they're starting to see Beyonce and Jay-Z as a unit that doesn't necessarily hold the same influence that they've been trying to perpetuate for years. We have from the celebrity deck, old acquaintances holding a grudge. And then we also have the card short term. And then lastly, we have tabloid target, real story being buried. So I do feel like this is also pointing to the Vanity Fair expose hit piece that just dropped. I want to say it came out last night, but I don't know, maybe I was a little late to it. But either way, this is definitely pointing to the fact that there are some people that have been they have some invested interest into this whole situation. They could have been even putting up certain blocks for Jay-Z. There were a lot of people that were pulled into this situation to speak on the board, to kind of like, like support the whole casino push. And I feel like with the old acquaintance holding a grudge card, this also talks about other people behind the scenes that the general public may not know about. I have talked about recently about how there were, I think his name is Jerry Jones. I could be making up that name, but it's this white man who owns a sports team. I don't know specifically what sports team it is, but there was a story that dropped about him talking about how Jay-Z had bad business deals. Like there was something going on with a certain player. I think his name was Des Bryant. And he was someone who, once that deal went through, Roc Nation stopped answering the calls from Jerry Jones. And that kind of was like, I guess that left a bad taste in his mouth, and he felt the need to expose Jay-Z. So this is kind of like the mountain before the molehill, or, whatever that phrase is, where it's like something small turns into something big, whatever that is. Now we have untouchable mogul. They evaded exposure so far, but how long can they hide? Again, reiterating my point. This card does come out for Jay-Z a lot. We've seen him as the untouchable mogul in the past, like someone who cannot really be spoken negatively about in the press. But now, in the last year and a half, especially since the Diddy situation and that case has come to a certain verdict, like I feel like now it's safe to talk about Jay-Z. It's like easier to kind of like expose certain things about him that have been hidden in the dark. We have the overwhelmed and burnt out card. This could talk about the fact that they could be burning out a lot of resources. I'm sure part of what keeps him on top, or has kept him up on top in the past, is the fact that he does have access. He does have certain resources, right? So if you're able to pay certain people to keep a certain narrative going, and if you are starting to, if those resources start to wear thin, it could become a lot. You make yourself a little bit more vulnerable to, the general public basically exposing you, or feeling a little bit more comfortable to speak on certain things. We have secret life exposed as a motive card here. And then we have network show cancellation, abrupt end to story or opportunity. This is interesting because we did just see something happen with Jimmy Kimmel, where his show got pulled by, is it ABC or MSNBC? So there's that. Then we also have public mourning ritual card as a motive. This is also, I feel like, leaning towards a Charlie Kirk situation. A lot of these stories, where when it relates to readings that I'm doing on celebrities, tie into other main storylines. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm starting to see that a little bit more myself as well, to where like I may have a certain intention to cover a certain person, and then other elements of the story may pop out, And it may seem unrelated initially, but it all starts to make sense over time. As you can also see, if you are new here, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel because I have all the tea, okay? Sometimes I don't understand how I get all of it, but a lot of times, you know, you can refer back to some of my readings. Most of my readings are timeless. You can refer back to my readings and see how it becomes relevant today. And you can also look back on situations, and there's times where I'm like spilling out certain specific details that I don't see the connection, but they start to make sense over time. All right. So again, I feel like this conversation about the casino has to do with well, I'll say this. Jay-Z has been pushing hard for this casino deal, and the reason behind it is, you know, we could speculate that this could be about luxury and legacy and leaving something, you know, to his children and being a part of business deals that are larger than life. But I do feel like there's something deeper about it. There's something about like money funneling, political leverage, and influence. So I'm tuning into this money energy right now, and I want to see what else comes up about Beyonce. What just flew out right now is corrupt media outlet. We have phone wiped clean. And then we also have proxy war. Okay. Let's also see what comes up about this obvious business case. So now we know that casinos equal high revenue, okay? High visibility for an empire builder like Jay-Z, someone who has like, you know, had certain brands like 40/40 Club, whatever. It's kind of like a trophy asset to have a casino. So how much of Jay-Z's push is standard business ambition versus something else, Spirit? How much of Jay-Z's push is standard business ambition versus something else? I'm trying to hurry up with this reading because I do have somewhere to go. All right, AI superintelligence and engineered social collapse. Okay, so there could be some long-term effects of that if it were to go down the way that he wanted it to go down. But anything else? Another thing that I do want to know is casinos historically can mask like dirty flows. So that's the conspiracy angle people are shouting about right now. But what is the energy of the money that's moving through this potential, or money that would have moved through this potential casino deal? All right, we have, I think, like 5 cards. Just, oh, Jesus. There's a lot of cards that just flew out. So we have Europe, libertarian card came out. We have the black budget, unaccounted for, government, corporate spending, mass exodus, spiritual or political departure from oppressive systems. And then we have lawsuit avalanche. I feel like this is also, okay, this lawsuit avalanche card feels like something that it's almost as if like they wanted to gain a certain, or okay, so there's resources, like I said, that Jay-Z has access to. So if you have a certain amount of money, or if you've been trying to acquire a certain amount of money and support from certain people, okay, specific people, and then certain influencers, right? So we have political figures, we have people in the media, etc. These people could help you win a case if you are able to, you know, drum up a certain amount of money, right? But this casino is kind of like a front. That's what I'm picking up on. The energy here is telling me that this is kind of like a front to cover bases for the lawsuit avalanches that he's been kind of trying to overcome. So we've seen certain things come out with like, you know, like the Tony Busby class actions. We've seen situations come out with, now, mind you, I also feel like some of these allegations that have been against Jay-Z aren't necessarily all true. That's my personal opinion. I feel like some cases are meant to be a distraction just to, you know, discredit his reputation in some way, to make it harder for him to be able to solidify and complete certain deals. And that's kind of like the point. The point is to just create a certain level of chaos. And I think that's kind of why also that's playing into why this not bill, but this deal did not go through. I think even the association of Jay-Z right now is just not beneficial for people involved in this. We have South Africa that flew out. There could be some South African influence in this whole situation. They are the leading African nation with an influence in regional peace, keeping trade and global discussions on human rights and development. We have the culture war, clashes between traditional and progressive values. And then also we have the silent witness, someone who knows the truth but is too afraid or unable to speak out about the situation. This has been kind of like a common theme with things regarding Beyonce and Jay-Z, where people do not feel like it's safe to talk about them. We have the Council on Foreign Relations, political think tanks pushing agendas that manipulate international relations, the Golden Parachute, leaders who escape scandals with hefty rewards while others suffer, and then the 5G mind control. So there could have even been something about, because this would have been like a one building situation, which is also strange. Casinos, I mean, there have been known when you think about Las Vegas, there's multiple buildings, right? It's not just one building. So the idea of having Times Square being the hub for a casino that would have been only housed in one building is kind of crazy. But again, he would have been able to have a lot of control over money. Way too much power than the government is willing to offer up to one person. Because at the end of this article that Vanity Fair exposed, they were talking about him being like not just a token person, like the token black person or whatever. This is also someone that they wanted to kind of frame it as like Jay-Z being the token booth. Okay, so being able to hand out tokens to other people of color or people in certain positions that could help other people. Okay, like the whole ploy is to make this about like supporting the community and making it about like, building new opportunities, new jobs, whatever. But that's not the thing at all. There could have been also some talk about like a 5G tower. So this building could have been like a 5G tower, which also would have not been great for people. But this golden parachute card is telling me more about the fact that there would be a bunch of leaders, that a group of leaders that would have benefited from this. They would have been able to escape certain things. Again, this is all about money laundering. Okay, so let's move on into Beyonce's presence and how it adds brand power and sanctuary to this whole situation, how it would have played out, and what roles does Beyonce have actually in this deal, like the face of legitimacy. A lot of people talk about all the time, especially now, the fact that Beyonce is kind of like the thing that seals the deal for Jay-Z, or has in the past, and that how it's not really working right now, like being almost like a spiritual or energetic guarantor, for lack of a better word. So we have global bankers, financial elites who manipulate economies for political influence. Underneath the deck, we have whistleblower protection. I'm not exactly sure how that whistleblower situation goes, but there could be somebody in this situation who has been blowing the whistle on what's really going on behind the scenes. We have the Royal British Family card that flew out, so there could be some involvement with that. I want to say that could relate more so to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. All right, we have free energy suppression and the double agent, corporate assassin, and the untouchable. So again, we have a situation where I think that this casino, the whole point of it was to make it an untouchable situation, to where people who are in influential positions could have evaded certain things, maybe taxes, certain laws, whatever. And people have seen right through that, beyond the fact that there would have been a lot of chaos, a lot of crime that would have come about from having these casinos. That's just kind of like pointing to the fact that Jay-Z would have been a lot like complicit, or seen as being complicit and supportive of the poisoning of New York City. All right. So is the casino Is the casino ask tied to political favors, pardons, maybe regulatory easing or tax breaks? We have the robot revolution and the Pentagon. Hidden connections to secret space programs and black projects. Okay, this was kind of weird. Okay, what just also flew out was oil and gas empire, control of global energy through manipulation. All right, some of this seems crazy, and I think part of the reason why I'm kind of getting the energy of crazy and unrelated is because of the fact that there would have been a lot more than just it being a casino. Again, I have said that this casino was just a way for Roc Nation and Jay-Z to wash large amounts of money. But this also ties into the fact that they would have involved a lot of foreign affairs in this one building. And it's just seen as too much of a liability. I'm starting to wonder, though, what is making Jay-Z believe in his own sick, demented mind that there would be people that would support him and only him just because he's able to gather certain people together. Having influence is one thing, but then also being able to like deal with possible fallout later, later and long term is a whole nother thing. So I don't know. This one's kind of heavy. If there's dark money energy, we'll see transfers, shell companies, or other unusual partnerships that would show up in the fling. So keep your eyes out on any LLCs that may pop up that are related to Jay-Z or indirectly related to him, maybe permit meetings, pardons, drop any receipts that you may find in the comments, because I am not always aware of everything. But I will definitely pull energy on them in the future. Okay, so what else? What is Jay-Z's primary motive for pursuing this casino deal? Because I've already said what I said, but is this about like legacy, revenue, or leverage? Legacy, revenue, or leverage? Underneath the deck, intelligence file destroyed as a motive card. Okay, so this could have been a way also just to kind of like collect information on people. We have the case tied to international espionage card as well. Okay, on top of the deck, we have meteor strike. So this would have been like a major event. Okay, the meteor strike card, could be literal, but it's always like about something big happening. Okay, all right, we also have unexplained explosion. So again, reiterating what I just said, is there energy of illicit money flow tied to this casino? Yes, no, partially. Where's the flow coming from? Where's this money flow coming from? 2 years from now, the Rosicrucians of Knights of Templar, and then we have undercover agent got too close. Underneath that, we have the community guardians. So guardians of or individuals stepping up to protect their community in the face of crime. I feel like this was kind of like the mask that they've been trying to wear. That like, oh my God, like we're essentially trying to create opportunities for not for the government, the community. We have our community's interest at heart when we're making certain decisions. Okay. So what is Beyonce's energetic role in this casino push? Is she the face, partner, or broker? Underneath the deck, we have youth uprising, and then we have Rothschilds and the Royals. Allegations of financials and political collapse between royals and this wealthy family. All right, I'm going to switch decks and switch energy because I feel like we're getting a lot of like the major players, but not necessarily tapping into the role of certain people. So I'm going to go back to my celebrity deck, or I'm going to go to the celebrity deck because I haven't really pulled much from them. So we have the team new but stayed quiet, new on the scene. Okay, I think this is kind of like talking about like the disadvantage. Like thinking, there's one thing about like new money, and then there's another thing about like old money, old operations, old systems, things like that. So there's something about like Jay-Z kind of taking like being assuming the role of being able to gain access to a situation like this. You know what I mean? Like there's something about like him thinking that, okay, because I have access to these people, I have access to the media, I have the ability to pull in these type of influential figures, I should be able to pull this off. But you still have to go up against the people who are in the city, the people who run this city. And I don't think he really took into consideration the gravity of the roles that those people have. We have truth aired on public broadcast and hidden vault, creative suppression, future leverage, and legacy control. All right. Are there any specific entities being used to mask money right now? Name the energy or structure. Underneath the deck, we have the pilgrimage, spiritual journey, a quest, some type of discovery of purpose. On top of the deck, we have new movie premiere, major debut that sets the tone. For beginnings or creative ventures, we also have the diva, okay, demanding star fueled by ego. And then we have astral projection during event. All right, there's a lot of strong energy there. It's something about like the fact that there are a lot of different people in the role. It almost feels like a mixed bag of people who don't really go together. You know, people who may be good at certain things, and in retrospect, they should be able to pull this thing off. It's all okay. Also, this makes me feel like somebody going into a situation and being overconfident about being able to win it, settle it, whatever. We have risk taker. Okay, so as I'm saying that, I'm holding the card, not even looking at the card. We have risk taker, makes moves that shock or surprise the public. Okay, willing to make bold or controversial. Why can't I say that? Choices on the thrill, thriving on the thrill. Okay, so somebody could be addicted to the idea of just having power. And because they have this addiction to power, it kind of makes them blind to what actual obstacles they may have to face, and being able to prepare for those things or anticipate the obstacles that could happen. Tabloid explosion. So there's something also here about, again, exposing whatever this is, celebrity scandal that becomes impossible to contain, spreading like wildfire. This card comes out for him a lot. Just a couple more questions and then we're going to close out. Who is inside this network would be damaged by this situation if the casino were exposed as like being compromised? Who is inside this network that would be damaged if the casino was exposed? All right, we have the PR-driven charity work for image and media attention, not genuine intention. Okay, so again, there was a lot of talks about, oh, we're creating all these different programs to create new jobs, new opportunities for people within these disenfranchised communities, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of these charity works that would have been tied to him, I can't name them. Someone let me know in the comments if you know of them. They would have been also at risk for this whole situation. We have inconclusive autopsy, which that's kind of crazy to me. But again, I feel like whenever I talk about Jay-Z, there's something about a dead body involved. Silent partner, hidden alliances, betrayal, and venture capital. Okay, so now this kind of makes me want to go watch the movie Casino. I watch that every so often. Like every couple of years, I always have like this itch to watch Casino. With I think his name is Danny DeVito, right? So, and then amongst other people. But I love that movie. It's so long, right? But it does talk about all the different ins and outs of a casino, like running the business, all the illegal activities that go on with it. Okay, so what else? What documents or meetings should journalists and the public request to trace the money? What documents or meetings should journalists and the public Request to chase the money. So many cards just flew out. I'm so annoyed by this. Okay, so we have the paparazzi. Lens through which fame is revealed. We have the private scandal, hidden dramas playing out behind the scenes, soon to be exposed. We also have starlet's warning, rising talent, subversive or rebellious figures, and disappointed. Somebody's disappointed about this whole situation. All right, this is a co-headliner or supporting role. I feel like that's Jay-Z to Beyonce. We have underground labels goes mainstream. Small indie strikes deal with a major corp. For some reason, I feel like this is odd though, because this feels more so like Roc Nation, which would be considered indie in a sense, but still a larger major record company that is trying to go mainstream, but mainly go clean. You know, like they want to wash their money. They want to make some of the deals, I guess, make sense underneath the deck. And this is going to be the last card. Major brand deal, partnership that enhances reputation and wealth. Exactly what I was going to say. So I feel like this is a way to kind of like wash not just the money, but like the idea of the public, how they view Roc Nation. Okay. I feel like most people kind of look at Roc Nation now as someone who could possibly be involved in nefarious activity, things that aren't necessarily kosher. Okay, so I'm sure we're going to see this continue to play out. As I've said in my first reading that I've done on this channel since the inception a year ago, I said that for the next few months to a year, whatever, that we're going to continue to see every full moon something be revealed about Jay-Z and his operations. We're not going to look at him the same as you've looked at him before. Jay-Z has never really been someone who has been a kosher businessman as he tries to act like he is. This is someone who will do almost anything, okay, $4. So I will see you guys in the next reading, and stay tuned for that. Make sure that you hit the like button or the subscribe button if you are new, and I love you guys. Bye.